Hi everybody, this is Karen. I've been thinking about how to approach this activity, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you some examples of some of the things I do with my students in my English class. It is a face-to-face class, but I do use the platform Schoology with them, and so I'm going to try and give you some examples there. Um, I do want to make a couple of comments. I thought the readings were interesting, which were contrasting constructionism with constructivism. And I think it is very true that we need to get students to be doing things and not just reproducing memorized knowledge and those kind of things. The also the video by this Mike Wesh. I actually was familiar with the video of the students with putting the notebooks in the air and that sort of thing, but I didn't know that he had done it. So that was very interesting. And I think he's very right. We aren't generally speaking, we aren't preparing students um, for the challenges that come and the real world problems that have to be solved, and students are not engaged. So um, in English, I will say that sometimes it's a little bit hard to design perhaps 100% significant tasks all the time, because what we want to do is we want students to we want them to practice English. We want them to learn grammatical structures and stuff like this. And so as I was thinking about how to do this homework, I started asking myself whether or not I'm asking the right questions of my students, and whether or not um, the tasks I'm asking them to do are really significant and really meaningful for them in their everyday lives. And I think many of them are not. I do my best, but again, perhaps within my classroom, students are very busy. They take English as an elective. They don't have a lot of time for other things, and I haven't been involved with other people in other areas, but I think that that's would be an interesting project to undertake in that sense. I am involved in a tandem um, project actually with Kate right now, and that is something that is a little bit more meaningful than, for the students, because they interact with students from Minnesota, and they speak in English and also in Spanish. And so that's something that it's at least it's a little bit more real for them. So what you see here is the Schoology platform that I'm using, and these are the materials that I have up here. So for example, for our first unit, we work on basically study abroad, and what I've done is I've used some approaches that is a little bit more employment approach, because I think it's a little bit more useful for them. And so at times I've asked them to do a mock interview in Audio Boom, for example, and I've had students who have done that, and it turns out being, I think, interesting for them, because not only are they answering a question that about, for example, our future employment or something like that, but they're also learning to use a tool, and they get to listen to themselves, which for language learning is also very helpful. And also, so this is the Audio Boom site. This is my profile, and it works a lot like a social network, because you can follow people, they can follow you. And so this is from a group of students I had a couple years ago. And I'm going to click on this one just so you can see the kind of things that you can do with this. So this student, he put up, well, one of their tasks was to do a work interview and answer, I think, 2 questions. And so he puts a picture up here, and then there is also, well, the audio there. And they also asked them as a debate, they had to debate. They had to pick a topic for debate, and so they decided to, he with another girl, they did one on animal, I think it was animal testing. And so he puts up the picture, and then he puts essentially he's interviewing someone, a scientist actually in the classroom who happens to be she's studying chemistry, and so he asks about the advantages and disadvantages for doing testing on animals. So I think it was quite realistic, and it was something they really enjoyed. I think finding interesting topics for the students is very important, and also coming up with interesting questions. But I don't think it's always that easy. And I think sometimes as teachers, we're left thinking, well, how do I do this? And how do I put this together? And I think especially what is more helpful, I think in face-to-face classes, is that you can put things together over a period of time, because you see them, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And when they have problems, they come up to you and say, you know, I didn't get this, or how do you suggest we do this? And so you can negotiate with them, you can tweak the project, and you can think together with them, which I think is much easier than in online classes and online learning. Because I think in online learning, what happens is sometimes you really have to have everything so well planned out to having them do a project together and creating something together. And when you're first doing something maybe new, you don't know what all the pitfalls and the obstacles are, and it's really a lot easier to work that out in face-to-face. So this, for example, were just some questions that I gave them this semester of sample questions. But I think one thing that they could do is they could create an interview in their field. This would be an interesting thing for them, because I have engineers, I have psychologists, I have economists, mathematics, from really all fields. And so that would be an interesting thing for them. They can work on something that in Google Docs. And I think one thing that obviously that they could do either with someone in another place, or even with another person in their classroom, in my classroom, or that studies something similar in a similar school, like engineering or something like that, or physics, is they can use Google Hangouts. And I'm pretty sure that you can record these. I think I've done that before. Okay, so this is back to our Schoology platform, and a task that I have given them right now has to do with the environment. We've been looking at different videos and different readings that have to do with food, with animals, and how do you say, global warming or climate change. And so I decided that I wanted them to do a project. And so in this folder, I've given them some different, basically some materials that they can check out. Some have to do with nature. This actually has to do with street animals, and an interesting take on how they made street animals desirable. This has some projects there on animals. iSpot has to do a little bit with citizen scientists, and also I have some folders here about monarchs. I have lots of resources on that. And then citizen science, which I found really interesting, because it's how individuals participate in furthering science and scientific questions and scientific inquiry. This was one about coffee farmers in Mexico, and how they are working as bird watchers to look at how the bird population is doing. And so these are the instructions I gave to them. And while I think the topic is interesting to me, what I'm finding a little bit of difficulty with is whether or not the question I'm asking is interesting enough, because actually I'm not asking a question. So I say, I want you to think of a topic you'd like to present about a success story in sustainability in the environment, animals, and their protection, perhaps a place in nature with a unique ecosystem, a national park, a place you recommend visiting, or maybe a social project having to do with nature that you would like to undertake. And the topic is up to you. Just make sure it has to do with nature and be something positive. It doesn't have to be in Mexico, but it can be. So I put this a requirement of being positive because we noticed that when we were looking at so many documentaries, articles, videos, it's really very sad what is happening with the environment, and few people are doing anything about it. And so I thought, well, this is a good opportunity to see what is being done in a positive way. They can work alone or in a group, and they need to do some kind of multimedia presentation. So either a video, a multimedia presentation, maybe in Prezi, screencast, podcast, or even an in-class presentation. So I'm saying it should be something that motivates or excites you, or something that instills wonder for you. But getting back to my sort of pedagogical problem is that I want them to create this, and I think it should be interesting, but I'm not sure, I'm really not sure the question I'm asking is right. What is the question I'm asking? It's almost as if I'm asking, is there something positive on the environment out there? Um, which is kind of a very general question. So I'm going to get, I'm pretty sure, products that are very diverse, that are, because I'm giving them sort of a wide range of things they can choose, and they can do it together. Um, Probably most of them will agree upon doing something in face-to-face. So in an online learning environment, this would have to be a lot more organized, and I think the question would have to be a lot more precise. And last of all, I just wanted to go back to this. This was a sort of a hypothetical project that I came up with before we went on break. And because there is a huge problem with the decline in the monarch butterfly population, both in the US and Mexico. And what I thought would be really interesting to do is a collaboration, which would be inquiry based, and to think about look at the decline in the monarch butterfly population as a cross-cultural problem. And there are ways of monitoring the butterflies through iSpot or Journey North, and there is a lot of information on the monarch butterflies, and there has been, fortunately, a lot of publicity and news about that. These are just some of the materials that I found. Some of them are links. Some of them are documentaries. There's some very good ones. There was a very good one from Nova on that. And there are a lot of different projects in the United States. I haven't seen sort of any grassroots really projects here in Mexico. So I think this is a big opportunity to do something. But the problem, or the thing that I don't really know how to approach, is doing sort of a large scale project like this, which is cross culture, but it's also you need people from different disciplines, probably biology, probably wildlife management, those kind of things. This is where I am not an expert, and I need to see how I would frame such a project. So um, I thought this would be an interesting project because it's something that matters to people and something that intrinsically connects people. If you look at any of the documentaries that are out there on monarchs, they are really just amazing how these animals survive and have survived for millennia, and we are just essentially we are on the brink of eliminating them. But there has to be data collection, and there has to be education and different community efforts. So I think it is a very interesting idea, but again, I don't know how I would go about creating such a project, because I think it would actually involve community creation, and students would be creating data and probably some very positive effects about what can be done to preserve the butterfly. I just want to end on this note of this quote that I found, and it says, Our real illiteracy is our inability to create. So thank you for listening. I'll listen to you and